I just know for a fact that this is one way that Richard can get me to where he needs. I've been extremely busy, and I apologize for not being at the meetings more often. And I'm extremely nervous when I talk to crowds. I've never done it before, and so I just want to welcome you all. If I had a mic, you don't want to give a politician a mic. And I used to be in that realm, but I'm honored to have you here. Hopefully our presentation will meet your expectations of a great wastewater project in the high desert. So without further ado, and when my guy gets back, he can start the video. If there's any questions, please. Introductions. Let's start on this side of the room. Hal?
I'm Hal Aaron Development Company. I live in Bakersfield. I do business in all over Kern County, a lot in Cal City and Tehachapi. I've developed 2 subdivisions in Tehachapi, and one did here in Rosamond, and it's a pleasure to be here and see everyone again. It's been a while.
John Rossi, Southern California Edison.
Susan Wiggins, Tehachapi City Council.
Dave Janis, China Lake Alliance.
Stephanie Severs, I'm the CEO of Alta One.
Justin Powers, owner of Kernville Pool.
Key Budge, City of Tehachapi.
Greg Garrett, Tehachapi City Manager.
Loretta Walters, Inykern Chamber.
Christine Leister, I work at Keller Williams Realty in Ridgecrest, and I'm also here on behalf of Inykern Chamber.
John Joyce, Rosamond News.
Joe Brennan, Kern County Supervisor. Philip Peters, District 1.
Drew Mercy with Antelope Valley Edge.
Carol Hooks, Alta One Branch Manager, both Cal City and Boron.
Karen Macedonia, wearing 2 hats, City Council member for the City of California City and a director for East Kern Healthcare District.
Good afternoon, Jay Lacey, Southern California Edison.
Alan Shirky, Golden Queen Mining.
Amira Flores, Director for Starbase Edwards at Edwards Air Force Base.
Corey Costello, Assistant City Manager, City of Tehachapi.
Ashley Cortez, Waste Management, now WM. So.
Richard Chapman, Kern Economic Development Corporation, now part of the EKEDC.
Zack Scrivner, District 2, Supervisor, Kern County.
And I'm Steve Perez. Yeah, Zach, I would have recognized you. Good to see you here. And thank you once again. And without further ado, we'll get the video started. Byron Glennon is one of the board members for the RCSD, and he's the longest serving member on the board.
Hello, I'm Steve Perez, General Manager of the Rosamond Community Services District. I'd like to welcome you to this overview of the Rosamond Water Reclamation Plan. The Rosamond Community Services District operates a series of wells and storage facilities around the community. It is these facilities that pump and store water for your needs each and every day. The adjudication was a lawsuit begun in 1999 and finally reached settlement in 2015. The purpose the court became involved was to determine the sustainable, safe yield of the water basin in the Antelope Valley. Every water user or group was allocated a quantity of water they could take from the ground. Rosamond went from a high of 3,000 acre-feet to a court-ordered 404 acre-feet, leaving the district the challenge of replacing the lost water from a new source other than pumping. The water reclamation plan is necessary for a number of reasons. It will allow Rosamond Community Services District to benefit by receiving credit for the production of approximately 1,200 acre-feet of water each year, representing almost half of the water needed to replace the water lost and secure the water for existing customers of the district. Rosamond is growing and we need more capacity. As you can see, everything is larger, as is evident by the size of the new clarifier, the round structures, and the biolac, the rectangular structures. The increases in size represent a larger capacity to treat water generated by the waste stream. Our wastewater treatment plant was over 50 years old and beginning to fail. The Lahontan Regional Water Quality Control Board ordered the district to find a solution and even aided in our attempt to find a cost-effective solution. In developing the solution, we were able to come up with a way to treat our effluent water to allow it to be percolated rather than evaporated. The Water Master has voted to allow the RCSD to receive credit for water we percolate. This credit would offset the cost of buying necessary water estimated at between $5.7 million and $8.1 million to serve the residents of Rosamond. This isn't the most glorious groundbreaking of projects one can attend. However, when considering how many people will benefit from this project, it's no wonder that it stands well above any other project it could serve the people of this community. This water reclamation plant was a major construction project and required numerous large pieces of equipment to excavate and develop new settling ponds, sludge retention basins, as well as an overflow basin to be used in case of an emergency. As of mid-April 2021, our costs are $13.7 million of an estimated $15 million. It is estimated that our overall costs will come in close to our overall projected estimate. The project has stayed on schedule, except for changes we made to the project, which required small time extensions to accomplish. COVID-19 also played a role in part of the delay. Our estimated time of completion is now the end of May 2021. Regulatory changes, age of our plant, and community growth may be part of the reasons for building the water reclamation plant. But the community of Rosamond will benefit from the increased capacity and our ability to efficiently treat our waste stream, which will also benefit the aquifer and save millions of dollars in drinking water purchases for the community of Rosamond. Although the focus is on the water reclamation plant, this plant is an integral piece of the overall need for water in our area. Water security is our focus at the district. We need to ensure there is water sufficient to address the needs of our district well into the future. The completion of the water reclamation plant will reduce our dependence on imported water, helping to secure Rosamond's current and future water needs. We invested and banked water in the Willow Springs Water Bank, and currently the district holds approximately 4,572 acre-feet of water located in the bank and in the general aquifer. This provides a cushion to serve the community as we ramp down to our 404 acre-feet as required by the adjudication. This has been a major project for the staff of the Rosamond Community Services District, and they should be recognized for the efficient and professional job demonstrated in ensuring construction was kept on schedule and on budget. COVID-19 presented challenges for the construction timeline. However, everyone involved maintained focus on getting the job done.
that the cost of water that this project would offset the actual price, because we've been buying water recently, is close to about $12 million. So although we borrowed the money to build the plant, we had an offset positive in the credit for the water that we would generate in the aquifer. So although we still have the loan to pay off, we don't have the additional cost of buying additional water. The banked water that was up there at the time that we produced this video was in the 4,000 acre feet. And today's total is just over 10,000 that we have acquired, and that is banked or carryover water. It's one-time use water. Once you use it, it's gone. So you can't bank your entire community's future on one-time water. But the fixed water that we've had to go out and buy in the recent months, the last couple months actually, has been over 1,300 acre feet. So with the 1,300 acre feet and the potential of 1,200 acre feet from this plant, Rosamond can secure the water future for the existing residents in perpetuity, supposedly. In perpetuity is a question people, well, how long is in perpetuity? Don't know. But we own the water, we have the water, we prioritize our communities, our existing ratepayers. First, development has to buy their water. Any future development coming into the community will pay to have the district go find them the water to build their developments. And that is how we prioritized Rosamond community today, not putting the burden on their shoulders. This plant is definitely an integral part of our water acquisition future. I'd be happy to answer any other questions or any questions you might have. Yes?
Steve, that 1,300 acre feet you purchased recently, is that table A water? Is that the plant?
Yes.
Okay.
It's been transferred by the water master, approved. It is and belongs to the Rosamond Community Service District.
I'd be curious if you're able to divulge what the cost of that was. Table A water rates are getting more expensive, as you know.
I do know that. We never wanted to set the price of water. And everybody in the Antelope Valley, it's been my experience trying to buy water, did not want to sell because they didn't want to be the ones that set the price in the Antelope Valley. As far as I'm concerned, the negotiated price isn't what we paid for it. And that's because I was not going to take a chance on not having water available for my community. It was well worth it to me and to the district and to the board to have security for the community rather than take a chance at the last minute and try to find it and secure it at a much higher rate when they knew you needed it. So I don't think it's going to go any further because I know I'm not going to buy it at any higher rate. But you're looking at anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 an acre foot.
And just so you know, I'm from Ridgecrest.
I know you're wrong.
And we are having to go after imported water in the table A.
Believe me,
costs are
we need to talk
crazy.
afterwards. I got a solution for you.
Can I be part of that
And they are
conversation?
talking about it.
Pardon me?
Said, can I be part of that conversation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's going to be a
Absolutely.
group effort.
Yeah.
And because, you know, when the Southwest Defense Alliance was created, I was one of the founding members, and when I was on the Board of Supervisors, and I know the value of our military reservations, and I know the value of China Lake. I know the value to the county of Kern. And if we don't find a solution to fix that problem, there's a good possibility that a BRAC could come through again and wipe China Lake out. That was one of the things that we experienced years ago that they were focused on. Is it water? What can we put our finger on that would kick you out of the running? And I think that it's imperative that there is a solution found soon. Yeah, I got some good ideas. We have a water bank out west.
We bought some of it. Mineral Springs Water Bank. We bought rights.
Yeah, and there's a big old pipeline that runs right next to it. So, anyway, other questions?
The slide said it's complete May 2021.
I knew you were going to pick up on that, Richard.
It's 22, right?
Yeah, actually it said 21 and that was correct. Okay. As things would have it in most construction projects, there's things that occur. And right at the time that we had an issue that we would have normally been able to address fairly quickly, COVID was upon us. We could not secure the pieces that we needed, that we were shorted, and we're still waiting on them. Last night, Brock reported that some of the infrastructure had made it. It shouldn't take us long to complete. Probably, if we got all the infrastructure in, we'd probably be done with the actual construction phase within 30 to 45 days. And we'll start some of our testing in the next couple weeks, filling our clarifier and running the clarifiers, and really starting the baby stages of fire for the plant. It's been a long time coming. We're mitigating our power load, Cal, with solar, and so our solar build out should occur just about at the time that the plant fires up, and, which will be great. Any other questions? Taking up too much time. Thank you very much.
Great, well, thank you. Thank you to our tech guy, Justin Powers, who's actually from Kern River Valley, for helping us with all the moving parts. So if there are any questions, please blame him. And I can also send this to you. I don't know where the best place to stand. Maybe I'll stand over here. I need to turn it on, right, Justin?
Yeah, usually.
Okay, great. So happy to be here today. It's our second meeting, real time, in person. In 2 months, we'll be in Tehachapi, the new co-work village, so we're excited about that. So I like this slide because the reality of San Joaquin Valley, yes, we're in our Kern County. All of Kern County is part of the San Joaquin Valley. We're the largest economy in the valley. So we need, as I'll talk later today, about where we should be at the table, where we should flex our muscles. But I think it's important that as we advocate, obviously in East Kern, Kern County in general is pretty much an economic powerhouse, right? We're almost at 50 billion. We're 18% larger than Fresno County. Is anyone here from Fresno? Okay. And we're 12th largest in California. Now, population-wise, right, we're smaller than Fresno, but all 8,400 square miles, and we're at 910,000. So we have a new fact sheet that came out about 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, I guess you can't see some of the aqua side, but again, based on being the largest economy, look how many of these things. Oh, thanks, Steve. Look how many of these things are in East Kern, right? And we're really hitting on. We'll talk today. I know Zach's going to talk about energy as well, but we're the energy capital of California, and we have 70% of the state's oil and 60% of renewable energy. Have geothermal. You name it. So think about we defend the world, we power the world, and we feed the world. East Kern, backyard East Kern. And so I think, again, it really is incumbent on us to make sure that we are ambassadors, you all are ambassadors for the region, but our own citizens. We're the third most diversified economy in the country. So I think, as I'll talk today about the appreciation we get, right, from Sacramento, Our facts kind of back up what we bring to the state. And I always show this slide too, but going into COVID, this is Kern County, it says Bakersfield, but it's the MSA. We have the most essential jobs in the country, and about 63%. So going into COVID, we knew we would be pretty resilient because we have, think of it, there's people here today, the industries you represent. I'm from North Carolina, Finers, near Fort Woodson, Fayetteville, Dave. Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Oh, the base.
Fort Bragg, right? So they have some military. But you can see, again, the legs of the stool that we have, our industries, and how that really kind of should be the envy of many other economies in California. So I wrote a piece, that was before, I gained a little bit more weight during COVID, I had my COVID coat, but that was right before. But I put out a piece a couple of weeks ago talking about really what Kern does powering California. And my final lines were, you know, when the state discusses energy policy, the future, we should be at the head of the table, right? The head, not just at the adult's table or at maybe the child's table. We should be at the head of the table because we really are the ones that are creating the all types of energy. So I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe Zach can expand on that later today.
We're running danger.
Okay. But, and you know, think about it, right? Talk about that energy independence. We get 15 million barrels a year from Russia. Of course, Saudi Arabia, much more. We've gone from 5% of imports to 70%. So that should be an apolitical issue, right? Bipartisan support for local production. But, you know, I guess I have rose-colored glasses. But again, the point is that these statistics, I think we need to keep pounding, you know, that in about what our region does. So a couple of things we're working on. You've heard about the B3K, Better Bakersfield Balanced Kern Prosperity Plan. One of the things we are, Kern EKEDC, is taking the lead on advanced manufacturing and building that core. And you know, so we created this. It's called MAC. This is the logo that we're tweaking a little bit. But you know, these opportunity industries, right? And I know Zach will talk about it. We have the advanced manufacturing. We have energy, a lot of the carbon capture, business services, and we have as well as entrepreneurship. And so we're excited to roll this out, talking to East Kern manufacturers. Actually, I have a couple that are going to be at the table. I confirmed one today. And what are the two issues that manufacturers face? Like most businesses, workforce development and regulations. So as we talk about some of our other initiatives, how they kind of complement each other, but workforce development is number one, availability. And think about with gas prices. We're in East Kern, so when gas prices keep rising, or will these employees come to work? A lot of the younger generations want to keep remote working, but really, I think the benefit's to have them on site. But now are we going to hear, oh, I can't, you know, it costs too much to drive to work. That's just another thing that we're going to deal with in terms of retaining employees moving forward. So we're excited. We had this symposium. Our foundation launched that back in 2017. It's at the fairgrounds pre-COVID. We are working with Kern High School District, countywide. We're going to have kids coming from all over the county, and we are going to show them the employers, the opportunities in their own backyard. Remember, we're number 4 for STEM jobs in the U.S., but our STEM jobs don't look like Seattle, Bay Area, what have you. About 60% of those STEM jobs pay on average $70,000 to $80,000, and they don't require more than a 2-year degree. And so we really believe that, yes, get that 2 or 4-year degree, wonderful. But who's to say this kid has an ROC, you know, CTEC, career tech ed training for several years, they're 18, they're ready to work. I mean, they're perfect for a lot of the manufacturers. So that'll be on April 1st, no fools, April 1st at the Career Tech Center. But it's only as good as the employers, right? Waste Management's going to be there, right?
Yes.
Hey, we have think about our speakers. We have 4 speakers. Talk about East Kern representation. Stu Wett's going to be a speaker. I told him you're going to speak to 4 to 10th grade kids, so make it interactive, Stu. So we have Amira Flores is here. Amira, raise your hand. She's at the Starbase Edwards STEM Education. So she's going to be one of the other speakers. Then we have, there were 2 girls that were in Bakersfield that were profiled in Even Nation magazine. they're building an airplane, 1920s version, but they're 14 and 15 years old. So we're gonna have one of the girls, the other was a little hesitant about being on stage in front of 250 people, but we'll have one of the girls that will be interviewed and signing in this publication. Then we have Elena Rusk, who is a meteorologist, and now at KGT. So they're gonna be in the venue inside, but outside, most of the booths will be outside. So it's free to the public, free for exhibitors. So we hope you all come to that. We're excited to partner with Kern High School District. Speaking of workforce development and Kern High School District CTEC. So we, about a year ago, one of my passions was the importance of internships. And think about your first internship. And I saw some study from the Chronicle of Higher Ed saying that the #1 attribute that employers are looking for is, did the student have a paid internship? Unpaid is the same as no internship. So Cal, what was your first internship? Maybe I shouldn't.
Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. Did you get hired after your internship?
I did.
Okay, see, 70% of interns are hired. So I wanted to launch this summer, and the first cohort are the CTEC, the ROC kids. They're 18, they're ready to go to work. We'll roll it out to 2- and 4-year degree students. But we had a competition with 5 teams of 16 to 17-year-old kids. They came up, the winning team, with this logo. Pretty original, right? Kick-starting careers. We paid them $1,000. It was a great competition. Somebody said we should give everyone a trophy. I'm like, no, sorry. No participation trophy, right, Susan?
That's right.
Right. We used to walk up to work uphill 10 miles and then uphill back, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. But we wanted the Kern name in, so we're excited. Stay tuned for more on this. Again, it's countywide, employers hiring students for paid internships. And then I got a couple more slides. So I pass this out now. We are working with, you can see the groups there at CAPK, SBDC, Women's Business Center, our foundation, through employer training resources at the county. Grants, these are $2,500 grants, and they're not loans. And this is a state program. Believe it or not, the application's a page and a half. Isn't that incredible? Page and a half. But we need to get the employers, businesses to apply. We have about 369 grants that we can give out. I think we're up to about 100. But the conditions are that they have to have less than 5 employees, less than $50,000 annual revenue. They were impacted by COVID, and they're operating, or they plan to reopen. So please, your chambers and other organizations, very nimble, quick process. In 30 to 45 days, the check will be cut. Basically, you can attach your business license and a photo ID, and then that's enough in terms of vetting and the like. So stay tuned for that. And then our market overview is coming out, and I think next month we're doing both digital. Some of the younger people wanted to go all digital. No, I like hard copy, right? I may be old, but I want the hard copy to hand out. So we're going to be ordering a couple thousand of that. And then I know, so that is my report. I wanted to have Drew is with AV Edge, the new AV Edge gentleman. So you want me to, we'll turn it off, and then Zach will be presenting in a minute. I think I see somebody coming towards me. I don't know if that's, I should run or something.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Hi, everybody.
I'll turn on the light for you.
Yeah.
Is it over here?
No.
There you go. We got Steve with running the lights in the water.
Hi, everybody. I know I've met some of you. Some of you are new, but I'm Drew Mercy. I was just hired a little over 2 months ago as the new executive director for Antelope Valley Edge. As you may know, Antelope Valley Edge was formed in the last couple of years, a merger between the Greater AV Economic Alliance and the Antelope Valley Board of Trade. Merging those two missions, we're also in negotiations with some new partnerships to greatly increase our funding to really focus on economic development, on building relationships with the brokers and site selectors to attract some new investment here. We are in the process of compiling our annual roundtable report. I know several of your agencies may have received our request for information. Get that work together. And that will be presented at our first post-COVID business conference that will be May 25th. We'll be announcing that date publicly in the next week or so. But that will be held at the Ellen Valley Fairgrounds, and then we look forward to rolling out our information on our keynote speakers and other information.
Gene Simmons coming back again.
We won't have Gene again this year. Yeah, you can definitely will of that. Happy to answer any questions about where we're at and what we're doing, but look forward to working with each of you in the future. Thank you, guys.
How are you?
No.
Are we going to defer to the back? Okay, here you go.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Joe. All right.
Thank you.
No idea.
I'll just, yeah, just one.
Okay, thanks. I am usually, hi everybody, it's good to be here. I'm usually super low tech. This is probably like the third PowerPoint presentation I've ever given. So anyway, I guess, to kind of, give you the backdrop of this topic, obviously a lot of you are aware that the state of California has a very adversarial posture when it comes to our oil industry. Kern County, as Richard mentioned, produces about 70% of the oil in the state. We also produce about 60% of the renewables. And Richard, I made the comment, we're Rodney Dangerfield, because it doesn't feel like we get any respect for the fact that we are truly the state's solution to their climate change goals. Kern produces more renewable energy than anywhere else. But what I'm going to talk about today is an opportunity that I think we have in Kern, and a lot of other people think we have in Kern, to capitalize on the state's climate goals and also try to continue to pivot and find other economic development opportunities in the state, knowing full well that the governor's goal is to destroy our oil industry and the 10,000 direct jobs, all those families that go along with it, unfortunately. That's not to say that we're not going to continue to fight. We have a lawsuit against the governor for denying permits for oil drilling. We'll continue to fight every time that the governor chooses a new pathway to attack our industry. We'll continue to look for opportunities to sue. We'll continue to look for opportunities to push back where we can. But this, like you said, is a way in which we might see some tremendous economic opportunities by capitalizing on what the state is trying to do and what will work for Kern County, which is what we've done when it comes to all the investment that we've seen in renewable energy, whether it's wind or solar. So, all right, I'm in charge of this, so carbon capture and storage. So Kern County is uniquely positioned to move into the future of carbon management, carbon capture and storage. Our oil companies own and have leases on the very geological formations that are needed for long-term CO2 storage. That combined with new carbon management industries are the next step in our economic diversification. So what is CO2 storage? So first of all, jobs. I mean, that's what we're really all about. And so we're not imagining that carbon capture is going to mean a lot of new jobs, because there are already employees within the oil industry that are going to be doing this. But what it does mean is the new industrial sources that generate CO2 and need storage basically to offset whatever they're producing, that's where the new jobs will be created, in those new companies that need to offset. But we think our oil industry employees are going to be the ones that will actually do the work. From direct air capture that takes CO2 out of the air to be stored in the oil company's storage projects, to blue hydrogen, which is produced by natural gas, and green hydrogen, which means splitting water molecules with renewable wind and solar energy, as well as newer fields in green steel and green concrete. And I mentioned, for some of you who are at the Greater Tehachapi Economic Development Council, this is a repeat, and I apologize for that. But we're looking to Cal Portland, who is actually looking at one of these green projects for their production of concrete. And so this is all, obviously this is all about utilizing our current wind and solar and battery storage. And just a little note about battery storage. A lot of you are aware, and I've talked about it a lot, the fact that there is the property tax exclusion that the solar companies get from the state of California. And that was something that was supposed to sunset in 2014, and then it was extended to 2017, and now it's up to, I think, 2025. But when it comes to battery storage, that is where we do see a big property tax benefit. That coupled with our cumulative impact charge that we do through our environmental impact reports. And so solar is now and will in the future pay their fair share. But that property tax exclusion was a real sticking point because the governor said, well, why do you care if I destroy your oil industry if you were just going to replace it, with solar? And the problem with that is that property tax exclusion. And so we have found, I think, solutions to that locally if the legislature doesn't decide that that is an unfair situation for Kern. We do have, I believe, a local solution. So revenue. So these new industries are powered by large-scale solar and hydrogen renewable energy, which we have land and expertise to provide. Over 1.5 million acres of productive farmland will now be vacant properties because of the new restrictions on groundwater and the drought. And Steve talked about the adjudication that occurred out here in this water basin. So what we're seeing in the rest of the state, Central Valley, being one of the main places, is the requirements for overdraft to be neutralized and eventually to have a scenario where you're not pumping out any more than is going in, either through percolation or through the state water project, the federal water project, et cetera. And so, and a lot of these groundwater management agencies are actually seeing now people who are members of them file lawsuits, and they're going to go to an adjudication. And so one way or the other, you've got to balance the amount of water that you pump out versus how much is going in. And it is no coincidence that the amount of overdraft that we see in Kern County in the Central Valley region is almost exactly equivalent to what all of our farmers have been paying for, but have not been receiving. When they pay for 100%, but they get 5, they get 10, they get 15% in any given year, that's why you see in a scenario where you get overdraft. But the fact of the matter is that we know that a lot of farmland is going to be fallowed, and we think that this could be an opportunity for those kinds of properties. So support helping those property owners find money-making uses for that land. That will obviously generate tax revenue, which allows us to provide all of our services, and will hopefully replace some of those jobs that we know we're going to lose through either adjudication or through the groundwater management agencies. So who comes into play here? Who are the stakeholders? So first of all, we got the DOE, the Department of Energy, and the National Renewable Energy Lab. We think that they can provide the community or the county and community stakeholders with a proactive dialogue on these new carbon management industries. Range, type, resources they need, water, obviously. So what's technologically feasible over the next 4 years, how much land and what types of water will they need, and how can carbon capture and storage support these operations. So Kern County, obviously we have an action plan. So the locally energy action plan that the DOE technical assistance grant will give us that shows us the state of the industry, and then hopefully we can craft an economic development pathway with the EKEDC partners, including our important partners in the educational community, which would include CSUB, Kern Community College District, AD, et cetera. So the pathway, we think, is going to include about 30 million square foot of carbon management business park next to the carbon capture areas in the oil fields in the central valley areas of the county, those waterless lands that I talked about. The possibilities we think are wide open. The new technology will clean up water, different types of long-term storage, and a research and development facility to provide a streamlined permitting for Silicon Valley to come and try their new ideas. So we think that this is a way for us to attract more money from Silicon Valley, like we have been able to do with several of our projects here in the county. What do we do best? Streamline permitting. Obviously, people want to do business in Kern County, not because we cut corners, but because we don't provide roadblocks that we feel are unnecessary. We create an environment and provide an environment for people who want to invest in the county to basically know what to expect when they go in. I think the thing that Richard talks to investors all the time, it's knowing what to expect. It's having expectations and not having the goalposts continue to be moved, not having more things to get added down the line that makes people want to do business here. And so we think that we are poised to benefit from this more than anywhere else. Not just because of the geology and the fact that we have the places to do the carbon storage, but also because of the environment that we create. So establish ourselves as the California Center for Innovation and Excellence. New investments, jobs, property taxes, sales tax. We have already attracted over $60 billion of private investment funding for wind and solar over just the last 15 years, which I think is an incredible number. And so we think that we can do more to attract that Wall Street money, that Wall Street green money, than we've already done. So Eastern Kern, the work of B3K in the aerospace and energy clusters obviously is already underway. East Kern's relationship to both Bakersfield and the Antelope Valley aerospace clusters places it in a perfect position for this new industry. The workforce and expanded winery and tourism and all the things that you all know so well, we think can complement this effort and continue to diversify the economy, which is really what we're all going to have to do. So the state of California, obviously they have big ideas. They have a lot of climate goals. We are the solution for that more than anywhere else. And unfortunately, the state, a lot of their big ideas revolve around putting our main industries out of business through overregulation. I talked about the ag and the water restrictions, obviously oil and a lot of our small businesses. And so Kern County will do what we always do. We're going to be clever and proactive in designing a future that supports our existing companies as they innovate, such as oil, wind, solar, agriculture, without leaving any of our communities behind, and leading California in energy and innovation. So I appreciate everybody's attention, and that's the end of my show. Does anybody have any questions for me? No? Okay, thank you everybody, I appreciate it. Joe, are you up?
Sure am. Is it okay if I stay over here? Am I gonna offend anyone? Okay, I just like standing over here. So I'll keep it brief. One of the things that has happened recently, and Dave can help highlight on this, the approval of the GSP for groundwater sustainability plan for Indian Wells Groundwater Authority for the Indian Wells region. And this is a big deal because this approval from DWR allows them to move forward with their strategy and plan for providing water to the region, this was a part of a long process that started because of Sigma. And in light of recent other comparative situations, this was one of few that were actually approved. And it was because of the hard work and the diligence of the GA and the staff, the board members themselves, one being the former Supervisor Gleason. So it is a good, really positive move forward. Now comes the implementation side of it, so that's going to be working with City of Ridgecrest, which the GA is doing. In fact, they're pretty cohesive on this as far as how they are going to approach this, and a lot of the details as far as the GSP were approved by DWR, so it's a revenue structure It's looking forward to providing and potentially bringing about water infrastructure to bring in water to the region outside of the basin that they're already in significant overdraft of. So that is, it is a good move forward. This was hard work. This was years of hard work from people like Dave and the rest of the overall community. And so this is a good thing moving forward. If there's any specific questions, I'm interested to have that discussion afterwards too about ideas from Mr. Prez. It's water in California is a tough conversation overall, and coming from the local level, working with the state, and then you have a water district out there as well as the groundwater authority, and trying to have cohesiveness sometimes can be a little rough, but this is a good step forward, and the overall feeling of this is that it's a productive one. So, does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. Yes.
I would add, we were the only basin, critically overdrafted basin associated with the San Joaquin Valley that was approved.
That's
the
correct.
only GSP that was approved out of all those. That was pretty spectacular for us and validating, but we have a tough road to hoe in that the GSP recognizes we have to have imported water. That's the purchase issue. We're 4 times overdraft, which some places in the San Joaquin are worse, but they have a delivery mechanism to access state water and other water rights that they may purchase, Table A water rights, for example, that are permanent. We don't have a delivery mechanism. We are a closed basin. Our largest cost is going to be up to $200 million for a pipeline to connect in either the LA Aqueduct, 2 options are the LA Aqueduct or AVEC right down here from Cal City. Those are the only 2. We're negotiating on both, and we're in negotiations for water rights permanently. We've already passed a fee to do that, and of course, that's got people real excited when you tax everybody in the valley to those fees, and there's a lot of skepticism. But the validation of that GSP was tremendous in moving forward, and we are proceeding. We're in negotiations, as I said.
And just a refresher, I should have started with this, but so Supervisor Peters, as part of his responsibilities with District 1, is to sit on the Groundwater Authority that has 3 main voting members plus 2 additional, 5 total. But the City of Ridgecrest, the Water District, and the County of Kern. So it is a big responsibility. It is one that Supervisor Peters takes very, very seriously because it is the longevity of the region, and it's not just the base, but it's a community, and many of you know a community around a military installation ties directly in with the longevity of the base and vice versa. So this is a big deal, and we're excited about where this is going.
And Supervisor Peters is actually the chairman of that groundwater authority this year. Rotates.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I'll be, mine's just pictures, because we all need some visuals once in a while, right? So I'm excited to actually have you all come to Tehachapi in May, so I figured some of this would be good free information in case you want to pop in and take a look at some of these projects on your own when you are up in our community. So I want to start real quick with some commercial projects. I'm talking about 4, 2 that are under construction and 2 that are going to Planning Commission shortly. Most of them at the top of the Capitol Hills area are hospitals at the very top. That area is seeing a lot of attention and development here lately. The first is the Town Place Suite by Marriott. That'll be open probably the next 2 months. They're working on that. They had some COVID delays, construction, supplies, all that good stuff. Below that is the new drive-through Starbucks just down the street. There's another 3 or 4 retail suites that are available for lease as well. And they're moving along. They have a good clip going for construction, and then the weather hit in Tehachapi as it tends to. And so the crews went back to Bakersfield for a while, and so now they're trying to get them back up the hill to finish that project. But both are moving along nicely, and the Town Place is finally starting to see some serious progress. Then the 2 in planning on the top, that is on Tehachapi Boulevard. This is the Tehachapi RV Resort and Storage Facility. So there are about 100 to 125 RV spots that are designed on the kind of nearest to you. and then there's a storage area. It's done by the same folks that do Payless Mini Storage in Bakersfield. They have a pretty good business down there. And so they wanted to come to Tehachapi, so they're doing a combination project of an RV park, which we don't have in the city limits proper, and storage, because there's always a need for that. So that one's going to the next planning commission. As is at the bottom, that is also in Capitol Hills. That is just it's a gas station and drive-through restaurant with a convenience store. So that area is starting to see a lot of activity. This is where we'll be at in May. This is the Village Collective. It just opened. It's downtown. We'll be meeting in the studio space, which is kind of that image on the left. Nikki and Buddy Cummings, formerly of World Wind and Solar, they redid that building downtown. They purchased this building, and it is amazing. Office suites are what is open now. Also, flex space, co-working style arrangements are available, and they're working with a few other tenants for the big pieces on the corner. It flows nicely into Centennial Plaza, so the cafe, eventually when they get that open, we'll have access to outdoor dining in our Centennial Plaza. So really excited for y'all to see this. It's an awesome project, and they're filling up the office suites quite quickly. Old West Brewing Company, this is our third microbrewery now in the city. This opened last weekend. This is behind the Tractor Supply, also near Capitol Hills. They named it that. The owner actually lives in Old West Ranch, which is a kind of a county community above the city, and he grows some of his ingredients for his beer on his farm. So that's the basis of the name. But great facility. It's taken a few years for them to sort of build as well, but they are open finally, and excited as we're now seeing the wine region is all outside the city, and all the beer is inside the city. I don't know how that happened, but that's how it worked out. And then housing. Important to point out, we've had 3 or 4 active projects right now. This is 30 homes at the end of Robinson. It's a former track map, revived and kind of brought back to life. Just a side note, as I was taking these pictures, some crazy guy was convinced I was spying on him and wanted to fight me in the street. So I did actually have to almost fight somebody to get that photo. So anyway, these are under development. They're putting in the infrastructure utilities right now. This is just up from City Hall in downtown. Cahill Banyan, Alta Estates is a fairly large development, went in and out of different ownerships during housing crises and downturns. There are 250 lots remaining on the south side of that development. Cahill Banyan, pretty large merchant builder nationwide, has purchased 55. They're actively developing 55 right now. Those are some of the housing types. Great floor plans, great architecture. They have a first right of refusal for another 50, and I have no doubt that they're going to build this whole thing out by the time it's all said and done. They're already getting tons of calls, waiting lists, all that great stuff. So very good project. They are active. You can kind of see in the bottom grading and infrastructure. They're putting in the utilities right now on that. And then 18 homes, the smaller development. This is Pinion, kind of by Alta Estates. They're grading 18 lots there, extending that Pinion Road. We're going to extend the other end of Pinion to connect to a grant we received. So that road will go a little more east-west than it currently does. And so that one is under development too. So some of these houses are starting to hit the ground. The address at Tehachapi, we've talked about this in the past. This is a large 238 development at the corner of Highline and Tucker. These are some of the renderings. These are very high-end, modern, we call them mountain modern homes. Rooftop gardens, decks, solariums, what do they call them up there? Really cool. They're in the engineering phase, and they partnered with a pretty well-known Bakersfield developer to build those homes. So a lot of confidence in that project, especially as they get close to their finalizing their engineering. So they're moving along nicely. This is a interesting project. I want to point this out because this sort of trigger got us thinking about the VRBO, Airbnb market, and how to sort of regulate that in the city. These were constructed. They are downtown. You'll see them next month. They call it, one's called the flat and one's called the studio, I think, or the loft. The flat and the loft. These are little 1-bedroom, 2-level Airbnbs that were purchased. The gentleman who owns that building to the right, he redeveloped that and made a nice little downtown barbershop where there's an attorney who has an office. And he has his own office in there, and so he had that lot next door, and he built these 2 basically micro homes. And so what we got thinking as well, we realized we had a few more Airbnbs in the community, one in Zach's neighborhood. So we figured we needed to not necessarily just try to tax them. We wanted to control that because a lot of communities have had an influx of these short-term vacation rentals, and then it negatively impacts a single-family neighborhood. So most of what we wanted to do was just try to figure out a way to make sure they were habitable, safe, and then if they were a problem, we would be able to revoke their permits and business licenses via the police department, so you couldn't have a party house in your neighborhood. So we've got about 6 active Airbnbs. We've started licensing process on all those, but these are the 2 nicest neighborhood ones developed specifically for this purpose. Public projects, a couple of really exciting ones. This is the Urban Green Grant. This was 400 trees-ish, right? Get the number right? 400 trees that we planted in the medians in Curry and Highline, all the way down Tehachapi Boulevard. So some of you next are in May, when you come in, you'll probably get off 58 right at the Pilot and the Loves, and you're going to see this wall of trees going all the way into town. That was part of this grant, and they're buttoning it up, but it has been a game changer. Also some along Valley Boulevard. So it's been a couple-year process on that grant, and but they are planted, and it looks amazing. And then just recently, several communities in Kern County got these grants. We received a Clean California grant. This is for a park on Valley. Very low socioeconomics in that neighborhood. The city owned a lot that we had planned many years ago to build a park through RDA funds. When the governor decided to drop that, we put that plan on the shelf. This grant came out. We tweaked it a little bit and added what is called five-a-side soccer. So that's that field on the right-hand side. You can kind of see on the plans on the left. It's just basically, it's like soccer on a hockey rink. And it's fenced in and it's lit, and the turf is artificial, so it's also cooling, which is part of this grant. And there's a playground structure and a few other things, extension of our bike path through there as well, roadway extension. So it's going to be, the neighborhood is pumped about it. We saw kids that would just play soccer on the dirt lot. So now they're going to have a real park, and we've actually started just getting engineering firms on the hook to start possibly designing this. So we're kind of pushing pretty aggressively on this grant that we just received. And then just real quick, last slide, Placer AI, I've talked about it in the past. We use artificial intelligence information, and you can see this is our latest trade demographic profile. And it's hard to see, there's these little white dots inside these this map, and each white dot contributes to at least 70% of our foot traffic through the city and our commerce traffic. So with that, and this goes into California City, Mojave, Rosamond, and even parts of East Bakersfield, and then of course the city and the unincorporated areas of Tehachapi, that puts our trade area population around 215,000, and again, elevates a lot of the other profiles. So that helps us compete for some of the larger businesses too, because they like numbers. To see a trade area that's actually 215,000 for a city that's only 10,000 really shows how much. We had one consultant kind of say we're punching above our weight. So what this does is really allows us to attract those businesses, realizing the highway, the commuting patterns, and just the fact that some of these other communities don't have as much retail opportunities will become attached to the shop. So we'll have more coming out on that, but that was a pretty good eye-opening and expansion of our trade area when we really looked at this is location-based data. So it's all tracked from cell phone data, it's pinging off towers, going into a math algorithm, and it is it's pretty spot on. So good news on that front, and certainly helping us with some of the development opportunities with others. So that's all I have. Any questions? All right. Well, hopefully you'll see some of these in May when you come to Tehachapi. Thank you. Old West?
Old West.
We can make that happen if you like. Thank you. Yeah. See what I can do. I haven't had it myself. I don't know how good it is.
So, Ridgecrest.
And I'm going to stay seated. I tweaked my back a little bit yesterday, and I'm standing in for Eric Brune, who sent me a text message about an hour ago and said he wasn't going to be able to make it in today. That he wanted to talk about, so I'll fill you in on that. The Economic Outlook Conference, which we hold every year, except for last year, it was virtual and much poorly attended because it was virtual. We held our first in-person one in really 2 years last week, and it highlighted some things that we were very successful at during COVID. And Zack referred to, on the county level, we have such a high percentage of essential jobs, obviously with the base being responsible for 85% of our valley economy, and the top three suppliers all being they don't pay property taxes, but they are all funded organizations that kept all their employees during the COVID pandemic. We had a very good economic result during that year because we didn't suffer the way a lot of communities did in particular. Portions of the community did, but largely we didn't. And that was highlighted in a very positive economic past look and a future look. It was a really good conference. So we have essentially going on. This is a slide he was going to bring with him, but I don't have, except for a hard copy. We've had a bunch of new businesses going in during 2022 and 2021. Arby's, Chipotle is coming in. Cube Smart Self Storage, Holiday Inn Express is just about ready to open. We've got another Town Place Suites that is in fact, that's not Eric, calling to critique me. KFC, we've got a Town Place Suites that is going to start construction finally. They postponed because of the COVID lockdowns, and we're waiting to see what the economy was doing, and that's been validated that they build one, so they're going to be opening. Starbucks, we got 3 of them now. My God, 3 Starbucks. I'm not a coffee. Some of you may be. Oasis Entertainment Complex, which is a new movie theater, and a lot of other things, bowling alley, etc., which is good because the bowling alley was destroyed in the earthquake. So things are really looking good. And last week we also went to EKEDC. And the report I got from them, there are several new projects. WAS, this is pending. You know, lots of promises are made at ICSCs if you're familiar with them. And if you're not, you should be. WAS Burlington, which we are really short, retail and clothing type outlets. Panera, that's been long wanted in the community. Burlington, Wendy's, Smart and Final, Five Below, Inspire, Duncan, and Jersey Mike's. Not like we don't have enough sub shops.
Hoagie's Dave.
Shops.
Hoagie's Dave.
Hoagie. That's the New Jersey pronunciation. We'll straighten this all out at lunch on that. And so there's really positive things, and a lot of this, a couple of them were looking at opportunities to fill the old Kmart building, which has been an eyesore in the community since they went under from bankruptcy. And that's the second old Kmart building. If you're from Ridgecrest, you denote locations and businesses and building sites based on what they were 30 years ago. There was an original Kmart that is now owned by the school district. This was the new Kmart until it closed when it became the old Kmart. Got to keep track of that. We also got a Clean California local grant, and it was in the amount of $1.8 million, and we're using it essentially for Leroy Jackson Sports Complex, much the same as what Tehachapi has chosen to do. Landscaping with drought-resistant trees, drinking fountains, trash cans. We had an incomplete sidewalk to nowhere, walkway to nowhere in that we ran out of money to complete. That's going in, adding lights to the tennis courts, and upgrading the facilities in general. So that's a sequence. This is the last one in the sequence of grants that we, out of the COVID grants, recovery grants that we've been using to restore the quality of life in the community, which was a big issue for recruiting and retention for base employees and all the employees, in addition to the base, which I said is roughly 85% of the economy. There are a lot of, we are now a valley of over 35,000 people. So it's important that we get that quality of life up there as our community demographic is rapidly changing to the youth, as my generation has retired and in many cases moved away, and the replacements have been hired in because the base is growing. They have record hiring plan for next year because the retirements in the past. Earthquake recovery, we had 4.1 billion identified as the cost of rebuilding the base out of that, and we had commitments and appropriations out of the House and Senate for $2.4 billion in major military construction projects. That's 19 projects. Every single one of those is now awarded on or ahead of schedule. Work is coming to completion on some of the original ones, and they'll have some ribbon cutting ceremonies later this year. And the last tranche of the propulsion center, which is on the east side of the base, those were let last year, those contracts, and they're going to begin to be staffed, and the construction is beginning this year, and the construction overall is going to go through FY25. Over 3.1 billion of that 4.1 billion has already been appropriated and sent to China Lake, and contracts gone out to accomplish the rebuilding. We're tracking the next 3 years of funding, and in the budget today that was passed by the House late last night is the a portion of that, roughly $1 million that's left to come each year as we complete the construction through 2025. So that's one of the things we do in the China Lake Alliance, working with McCarthy and Senator Feinstein and Senator Padilla and whatnot, is to ensure that the base gets all that money finally in, because in many cases that money that's coming late in this process, 6 years after the earthquake, is money that will outfit the many hangars and laboratories and buildings that the major military reconstruction funds built the new hangars and the new lab facilities, et cetera, but it didn't outfit them with, easy for me to say, the specific specialized test equipment, research equipment, lab type equipment, because you don't want to purchase that early and then let it sit there and the warranty expire on those things that were laboratory type devices. So you have to program it every year. And I can say with confidence, so far, all the predicted and needed funding, 100%, has been appropriated, authorized and appropriated to date, and it's looking like, keep your fingers crossed, we'll have that last 3 years. When that is completed, China Lake will be the premier lab in the country and perhaps in the world for research and development, and also an ancillary mission for them as test. Finally, the mayor visited Washington, D.C. last week, and it was in association with our mayor. With one of his hats is the Desert Valley's credit union CEO, one of the competitors for Stephanie and Alta One. But he also, so there's a constituent visit that the credit unions pay back east, and he took that opportunity to combine it with, but separately, carefully, Brown Act, kept that separate from his function of advocacy for the city. And he took some of the time back that was dedicated to that. And one of the things that we've been pursuing in the city for several years, it was previous Mayor Peggy Braden, now Councilmember Braden's first priority was to get an annexation of the road from Highway 395 on the south end of town, South China Lake Boulevard, where as you come down the hill into China Lake from the south, headed north, you turn off to the right and there's about a mile of nothing before you start to get to the city limits. And we've been advocating for that spot to be annexed by the city, the land along the road and the land at the intersection, so we have an intersection entrance to the city from the south from 395 that's planned to be really a truck stop, perhaps fast food, smart casual dining, that, and maybe even a hotel. At that point, if we can get people to turn off that road and find out what's available in Ridgecrest, that will be a big boon to the community. Because our top 4 employers all don't pay property taxes, I think you've heard this before, we have a very reduced general fund for the city. So we need to generate tax revenues. We've all seen what happened in Boron when they got the truck stop elsewhere. That's been a cornerstone. So if we can get people to stop there and recognize, by the way, it'll be a vast electric charging station for cars. We can capture a lot of that, in particular with what I hadn't mentioned yet was what we're really growing is tourism. In the Death Valley, Mount Whitney, all of that, with the establishment of the California Welcome Center, which opened in November at Ridgecrest, a beautiful facility. They've got virtual reality tours of the pinnacles and a couple other things in there. It's getting a lot of attention, a lot of attraction. Tourism has increased. That's part of the reason for the additional hotels, as well as all the base travelers that routinely come through. The base travelers are during the week. We wanted to fill it up during the weekends, and that is happening. For instance, in the winter months, we are full of worldwide travelers, particularly from Asia, that are coming and want to see Death Valley, want to go up, the lowest, highest spots in the continental United States, over to Mount Whitney also. Those type of things. Trona Pinnacles are very famous. So things are looking up. We had a very positive year, a very positive outlook moving forward. Now all we got to do is solve that water problem. Any questions? Thanks.
We have Alan from Golden Queen. Any updates on Golden Queen since you're the Mojave rep today?
Yeah, we're doing very well. We have proven out reserves through a drilling program last year that will take us through to 2029. Of course, we're permitted to 2031 for gold and silver, and then 2061 for aggregates. Strong growth on the aggregates business side last year. The key focus for mining this year is really optimizing our processes. We've made strategic investments over the last couple of years with software for managing our fleet, and then ILS system for boosting recovery of ounces through our heap leach process. But we're at the point now where we're taking all the data and looking at the weak points in the process, looking at the availability of equipment, how we can improve upon that and utilization. So this year is really a big maintenance year, I guess you put it. Head counts at about 265, Richard.
I wish I had invested in gold a couple months ago. Kind of tracking with oil prices.
It flutters around.
And you have 300 employees approximately?
265 right now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just add, for Mojave, the county, Corey, on behalf of the city, was talking about the grant that the city received, and then also when Ridgecrest did it. Mojave received a $3.1 roughly million grant to upgrade the East Park, Mojave East Park, and so we'll be just as soon as we can, when all those monies are realized, start those improvements as well. So we're excited about that. I think Greg and I were kind of doing a little math on the back of a napkin. I think Kern County, between the cities and the county, received well north of $10 million through that state grant program. So good news.
And who else do we have? Kern River Valley, Justin.
I don't have anything for slides, but I'm a little bit easier on the eye if you want to turn off the lights. So I'm from Kern River Valley. My name is Justin Powers. I own the co-working space in Kernville called Kernville Co-work. I'm really looking forward to seeing the co-working space in Tehachapi. I'm really excited to had Bud come over and check out our co-working space when he was kind of thinking about that idea. So I'm really excited to see how that turns out. In terms of what's new in the Kern River Valley, we just got through Whiskey Flat Days. That happens every President's Day. We missed it last year because of the pandemic, and so this year, not only was it a great year because everybody was excited to get back out and see everything, we also had fantastic weather, and we've been able to make some investments in town, investing in the rodeo grounds and having more events and rodeos there. So that was a really great event. The other thing that we're really excited about is Kernville Co-work's partnering with KITE, which is the Kern Initiative for Technology and Entrepreneurship, and bringing in a co-starters program. So this is a very highly prestigious national program for basically an accelerator for people who want to start a business. It's a 10-week program, and we have a cohort that will go through all 10 weeks. They kind of help each other, starting with the fundamentals of knowing yourself and knowing your business, and going all the way through things like marketing and financials and forecasting and kind of everything you need to know about, to really build out your business plan and really hit the ground running. So that's going to be happening in April. Really excited about that, and the KITE is providing most of the funding for that, so each of the students only have to pay $200 to be a part of that. So we've got a couple of spots open still, so if anybody knows anyone that's looking to start a business, come on up and join us. And I think that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Yeah, Justin, GoKite.org. So that was a initiative that our organization, Kern EKEDC and JP Lake and Corps started right before COVID. And we want to go around the county, and so we're discussing now maybe having these regional hubs of excellence versus just a county-wide committee. So stay tuned for more of that. GoKite.org. And you can find out more about co-starters. So you were one of the original.
And yeah, I believe the idea is that in Kernville, this is more to be looked at as a pilot program. And we do want to bring it to other Eastern Kern communities. So if anybody's interested in kind of how it's working out and how it's looking, and maybe want to come and visit and see one of the cohorts, we'd definitely love to have you. And I know that KITE's interested in bringing it to a lot of different communities, so it'll be pretty exciting.
Thank you. We have new Inykerns here, so we found out they were coming to meet today. Thank you, Joe, for telling them about East Kern Economic Alliance. So we'd love to have you all at the table at future events.
Hi, I'm Christine. I'm here kind of improv for Inykern. It's my first meeting. It's great to hear what you
speak
guys...
up a little? It's hard to hear you now.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sorry. I'm with, my name's Christine. I'm kind of improv here for Inykern. It's great to hear everybody's small community's success. We are kind of on the opposite side, so sorry to be a bearer of bad news. We were coming here today because we have recently joined the Inykern Chamber of Commerce. We restarted, I think, in October of 2021, and fast forward to where we are now, we've uncovered a lot of hurdles that we've come across just going through the financials, losing board members, and really just the whole chamber coming to an end. So to kind of throw out the dirty laundry, our chamber hasn't paid property taxes since 2014 or 11, I think it was. We've lost our nonprofit status. We also have not paid any federal or state taxes, and currently our water bill is 3 years behind, and our membership has also dropped off. So that's what we're here for. I'm here to kind of pick everybody's brain and mastermind on how do we get the chamber back up and running. I'd love to meet with you guys after if you have any ideas on how to get there. I also have some things about Inykern in general. So we are unincorporated, so because of that, we run into issues with our main drag of commercial businesses being vacant, and one of our vacant buildings their doors have been shut since 2009. They own 3 doors in particular and have no interest in opening the doors back up, which we all know with no business means it's cancerous to the community.
chief has turned in his resignation. We have about 3 more weeks of that. We have completed our city manager search. We have identified someone that I think is an incredible candidate. We have offered a contract. God willing, by the 22nd, that will be signed and we can announce who it is. And this man's ready to hit the ground running. I know I've got some more. I've got Cal Rossi over there who's helped with replacing street lights because we had a lot that were burned out. And essentially, as I'm listening to all this going on, I'm so excited at all the work you guys have done so that we can now run straight forward, catching up with you and figure out all the best ideas because Cal City is ready to hit the ground running. We really are. And Inykern, I was seated on December 4th in my office as council member. Every single question I asked led to another question I wished I didn't have to ask. And been there, done that. You get to the bottom of it and you start to spring back. It is the most wonderful feeling in the world because then we've got a solid foundation. So thank you to everybody, and if you have any questions, I'll answer them. But basically, if you've heard about it, it's true, and the newspaper would have nothing to write about if it weren't for us.
Wow, it's hard to top that, thank you. We have Mary Beth here, anyone from Boron? No? Okay, so member comments. Let's go around the, Cal, do you have anything? Speaking of Cal City, Cal, do you have anything?
Well, I would just remind folks that Edison doesn't make money off of electricity. That's a pass-through. But what we do make money off of, and I think Cal City's been very interested in this, is the infrastructure investments in the region. And that leads me to Mr. Perez. We do as a company support solar. And but there is one issue that has come up that kind of has the solar industry up in arms. And Southern California, Edison, along with other regulated utilities, are trying to reform the net metering associated with solar. If you have solar, congratulations. If you don't, you are subsidizing the folks with solar to the tune of about $3 billion a year. And that puts upward pressure on rates for all the classes. And so that's something we're working on. Obviously, the solar industry is pushing back pretty hard on that because they love the subsidy. I don't blame them. But really for us, it's been an issue of equity. And then in terms of the challenges facing the rural regions, specifically Eastern Kern, it's really going to be infrastructure. Cal City is ground zero, Edwards Air Force Base, and all those challenges are associated with providing the backbone infrastructure to have the capacity to meet the growing needs so these communities can economically grow. And I think that's going to be a challenge for some time. Again, California City, there's some major projects. Unfortunately, as Councilmember Macedonio knows, that many of those projects require licensing, which is a drawn-out process. I think we're going to see by 2029 two 115, brand new 115 lines going in there. We're working on battery storage. We have short, medium, and long-term plans to try to catch up, and it's largely driven by a lot of the investments that's gone into California City. Edwards, obviously, they have some growth opportunities there. We're going to be working through capacity issues on our lines. And then there's China Lake, and we participated along with Ridgecrest. And I believe it's the critical needs assessment or critical facilities assessments to make sure that we have the capacity, at least redundant capacity in the China Lake. I think a lot of folks look at, within that context of that effort, look at us like a hospital, police station, a wastewater treatment facility. And when they ask, well, what are our critical facilities in Eastern Kern, and it's really all the above. It's its transmission, its substation, and its distribution. And it really takes all of that. And I was reminded of through that process that if we go back to 2019 when we had the earthquakes, it pretty much took out power to that whole region. Within 12 hours after the first quake, we had everybody who could come up. The second quake, within 12 hours, we had everybody back up that could be up, with the exception of 58. And so we missed the mark a little bit. But that's really our emergency response and preparedness, is working through the County Office of Emergency Services. And then I would just close with both Richard and Supervisor Scrivner referenced, 60% of the renewable comes from Kern, is generated in the state from Kern County. Well, that really was a partnership between Southern California, Edison, and the county to build the Tehachapi Renewable Transmission Project, and to steal a line from Hal Fishman for some of the folks from the LA Basin years ago. That project was essentially a 134-mile extension cord to get all that renewable from the desert to the sea to all of Southern California. And so Edison has been a key player in the development of renewable resources. We support solar, we support all of that effort, and we spent a couple $1 billion of ratepayer money to support Kern County's efforts. And I'll stop there. Maybe Jay has something he wants to add.
Not too much to the infrastructure you spoke on that. I'm with the Economic Development Services team. My job is to help businesses and communities that are looking for businesses to in the attraction component as well as expansion, and in some cases as well retention piece of it. So we've seen a lot of activity with a lot of expansion and retention in the community around here. And what we use is called the economic development rate. And essentially what it is, it's a discount on their monthly bill over the course of 5 years to the tune of 12%. So a lot of businesses are very interested in that. There's a qualification. It's not a free ridership where we just grant it to them. There's a business case that they have to present, as well as a pro forma specifying what they would use that discount for. So if it's for infrastructure, or if they're looking to expand their business for employee opportunities, we work with those different businesses in those attraction and retention and expansion capacity. So feel free to contact me if you have any questions regarding that. Again, right now we've had that program for about 2 years at this point, and we're about 40% prescribed, and we're seeing a lot more interest throughout our service territory. So again, if you have any questions regarding that, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to help.
Richard, can I piggyback on something Cal said?
Yes.
The military.
I'll give you as much time as Cal took.
I'll do it quicker, hopefully. The study he was referring to in his first comment was the military installation resilience study that's conducted. It was an OES grant granted through to Ridgecrest and the base to study the threats to the base. And it's a defense community study, because 90% of our workforce in Channel Lake works off the base, lives off the base, So that impacts what happens in town, impacts their ability to carry out their mission. And yes, they look at single point energy, for example, and quite extensive deep dives with Cal and his team. Wastewater treatment plant, as Steve was mentioning here, ours is 70 years old and received a death blow in the earthquakes. The estimated cost for ours is $53 million, and that means it's actually higher than that. That's the current one. The good news is we believe we've got 2 or 3 grant opportunities for that we've already applied for, and we've got some money that we had already been taxing our citizens to build up the funds, because we knew it's 78 years old. So in fact, we knew it was near failure, and we're looking positive on how we're going to replace this. What it doesn't have is a tertiary level recycle, and that's the second phase of it that's being done in concert with the Groundwater Authority that's responsible for water, groundwater in the whole valley. So that's a part of the GSP, the Groundwater Sustainability Plan, and the solution in the long run, and there's a relationship there.
Is there anything such as high alert at the base due to situation overseas?
Height and alert, oh, you go. Yes. Yeah, there's.
But because he has to
Cal's closer to him.
I can't say any more than that.
There you go.
Yeah.
If you're active duty, you're always on high alert.
Yeah, although the basis of research and development and testing and evaluation, there are also certain operational things that take place in support of some of the leading edge things. So there's concern, yes.
And you know, Cal, I enjoyed sitting next to you at the Indian West Valley Outlook Conference, but I was trying to pay attention to the speakers and the memes he kept showing me.
We had no chance.
But Eric, when the mayor, Eric got up there, you know, he's very great, great stuff, and he just talk about a great booster for the community, and as well as you, so.
He's very loud and animated. I'm
yeah.
not that.
Well, I had to post.
Thankfully, I'm not that animated.
Oh, I always thought he was very subtle.
You had both of your eardrums after that second screen.
Yes.
I'd like to do a shout out to our media consultant and does all our public outreach, Dave Saltman with Z-Axis. He and his partner shot all the footage for the wastewater treatment plant, in addition to a water reclamation plant. And from the day one, they were on site and would take various photographs with drones and really captured for the community the progression of the construction project. She noticed on the slides that there was, from the various slides, there was a dollar amount. We tried to keep up with the, at whatever particular point we saw, there was how much money was spent. And I just wanted to shout out to him. If anybody needs a publicist, consultant or anything to get the information out, Z-Axis is your people.
Stephanie, we're going around the table, so I'll go on.
I'm excited. Thank y'all. This is my first meeting. I'm new to the area. I'm reload here from Texas, so I really don't know all that much about the water issues, but I am quickly learning. But I appreciate everything that y'all are doing and y'all sharing. I took a bunch of notes. You know, we have branch locations in just about every one of y'all's cities.
You don't have one in Rosamond.
I know, I heard. So
I would be happy to talk to you about that.
absolutely, let's do it. Honestly, yeah, and, you know. So, but I think this is great. Any way that we can get involved, we want to start getting involved. I'm very much involved in economic growth and development in my previous credit unions. So this is actually my wheelhouse, business lending, and helping out in that department. So actually I want to talk to you too. So I've worked at incubators and startups and VC firms. So I'm all about helping you out with that. So yeah, so we are purchasing the branch in the Mission Bank branch in Ridgecrest where we're at. I know they're also pulling out of Mojave. So if y'all want to talk about that too, we can talk about that too.
Mojave wants a bank. I can tell you that.
Yeah. So anyway, if there's anything else that we can do for y'all, just let me know.
We have Carol from Welch.
That's right.
Anybody, Waste WM?
Hey, Rich. I'm just kidding. So we did change our brand. We're going away from waste management. I don't know if you heard. So all of our new branding will be WM. That went into effect. So we'll be changing all signs, trucks, everything. So we're excited about that. We're knee deep in SB 1383, which is a big undertaking for all of our areas. For the state of California, it's a big undertaking. So we're working with each city, you know, on amendments and working with them, you know, to best position them so that we can make this an easy transition as possible. And working to find where we're gonna take the material. There's still a lot of infrastructure that is in the works in the pipeline, and so just continuing to monitor that and have conversations. But we are super busy with that, and just it's gonna be a big year for all the cities when it comes to this new law. So just working on that.
Great things. Kelly couldn't make it, but he texted me that, obviously we talked about the micro enterprise grant, but also that he has one called the California Dream Fund, which will fund a limited number of startups between $5,000 and $10,000. So if you know somebody, Kelly's K Bearden at KBEARDN at csub.edu. So it's called the California Dream Fund. Great. Anything else? John, do you want to add anything?
Only to thank you for bringing your traveling road show to Rosamond.
Antique road show.
And I was hoping you'd get to see the wastewater treatment plant, and I'm so happy that Steve came in and did it personally. And you all saw our new shopping center on Rosamond Boulevard as you came by, a 7-Eleven, a O'Reilly's, our first Starbucks, and grocery outlet. And you also may have noticed 2 brand new subdivisions here on 35th, one down south and one behind the library. And the Del Sol shopping, or the neighborhood, is building out their last street. So Rosamond, with its 25,000 population, I said that at lunch, and someone said in surprise, "What, Rosamond, that much?" I said, "Yeah, it's probably more, but I'm using that." And so thank you all for coming and seeing what we have here.
Change the sign. It says 18,000 coming in.
Well, we got to change that.
That was 18,000.
Well, what at the ALA conference at Ridgecrest, the realtor said that the average cost of a home in Rosamond is $380,000.
It beats Ridgecrest. Our Ridgecrest median house price is $250,000. And I think our income per capita is probably really high. I know our IQ for our residents is high because of the work that they do out there. So they have a high IQ and deep pocketbooks, but they're cheap.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Thank you. Well, you'll see this posted on YouTube. John is the cinematographer, so enjoy.
That's right. Joyce Media Inc., Rosamond News, YouTube.